Hey guys, it's Ash. Today I'm going to be taking you through a little foot and ankle care routine. So this is something that might be useful to you if you're an athlete who is doing some running or other sport where you want to be performing at your best. If you're someone who spends a lot of time on your feet day to day or in tight shoes and you want to give your feet a little bit of love, or if you're someone who has had previous problems with your feet, maybe plantar fasciitis or something else along that line. Of course, if it's something more specific, please consult your healthcare professional, but I'll take you through some strength, mobility, and some functional exercises to keep your feet moving really well. So to start with, let's go through some mobility, just the movement of your feet and ankles. I like to start with a trusty tennis ball, just rolling the bottom of your feet out. You can use this to work through any tight points that you might find. You can go in any different directions, so rolling from the heel down towards the toes. You might go side to side across the foot. And obviously in standing, you can choose how much pressure and weight you put down through that tennis ball, how firmly you want to press. Good. And this is the kind of thing you might want to do for about 1 to 2 minutes. If this feels a little bit strong for you, you might also just do this one sitting down to take a little bit more weight off of the ball. Cool. The next one we're going to do is also with the tennis ball. We're going to be doing a bit of mobility through our toes and our forefoot. So angling your toes upward against the tennis ball. So we're coming into toe extension here. We want to think about spreading our toes out wide like a fan and then tapping your big toe down onto the ground and then your little toe down. So we're just wanting to separate those toes, particularly if you're someone who's been in really tight, pointy shoes, stilettos, ballet flats, whatever that might be, or even in like football boots, and you want to really stretch out in between your toes. Good, we'll go ahead and do the other side. And again, just doing this 1 to 2 minutes until you feel like you've released a bit of tension. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is our toe yoga. So standing with both feet flat on the floor, we're going to lift up just our big toe, keeping the other 4 toes down on the ground. And then we're going to swap it over, big toe down, outer 4 toes lifting up. We're going to swap and swap. So at first, this can be really, really tricky for us to coordinate. If this is too tricky for you starting out, you might just do 1 foot at a time, or you might sit down, taking the weight off your feet, just focusing on finding that motor control and coordination. But if you're really struggling, you can go ahead and use your hands to help hold down your toes, so you can practice just lifting the ones that we're after. Good. Again, spending 1 to 2 minutes on this exercise. Good. Now we've got the feet feeling nice and mobile. We're going to work a little bit further up through the ankles. So to start with, we're going to stretch into plantar flexion. We'll just do 1 foot at a time first. So we'll start just by tucking our toes under, looking for a stretch up the front of the ankle. Good. We're also pushing our toes back into flexion, and you might start to find a gentle bit of movement from side to side. Good, similar to before, we're spending 1 to 2 minutes on each side. Good, maybe a little bit of extra love if one side feels tighter than the other for you. And then a more progressed version of this exercise is going to be sitting your bottom back down onto your heels and leaning back, finding that front of the ankle stretch out. Maybe your knees can lift up off the ground a little bit or a lot. Good. Stretching up front of the ankles, up the front of the shins. Good. And then finally, for our mobility section, we'll work our dorsiflexion. So that's that knee coming forwards over the toes movement. So keeping your heel nice and flat on the ground, we might start just with a really gentle kneel, leaning your weight forwards, seeing that knee come forwards ahead of your toes. Good. In this shape, you might find a bit of a stretch up the back of your calf or feel some tightness in the front of your ankle. Just wanting to encourage the muscles, the tendons, and the bones around this area to slide and glide nice and smoothly over one another. Again, this is pretty general. If you've got a more specific problem, maybe a sprained ankle, if you've sprained one side in the past, you might find that that side is a little bit tighter coming into this movement. So you might want to spend a little bit longer stretching that side out. All right, moving into our strength exercises now. We're going to start with an exercise for the intrinsic muscles in our feet. So the muscles that live within the foot, not crossing the ankle joint. We're going to be using a little hand towel here today. You can use whatever you've got at home. The bigger the towel, the harder this will be. Starting with just your toes over the end of the towel, we're going to use our strong scrunching muscles to pull that towel underneath our foot and then reach and drag our towel all the way underneath the arch of our foot. I'm going to try and get all the way to the end. But if you run out of steam or run out of towel, you can just reset and scrunch right until you get to the end. What you want to feel is the muscles running up the arch of your foot, working to create that scrunching movement. If that feels too easy, go and grab yourself a longer towel, and then you'll have a little bit more to work with. And I always just recommend that if you're having problems with your feet or you're wanting to really maintain strength through the arches of your feet, do this every time you get out of the shower before you hang your towel back up. Go. Alrighty, the next one we're going to do is strengthening the front of our ankles. So up the front of our legs here through the top of our shins, we've got our tib ant muscle, which crosses the front of the ankle and is responsible for lifting our toes up off the ground into dorsiflexion. What we're going to do is find a wall we can lean our back against it with our feet slightly out in front. Keeping our body up nice and straight, we're just going to peel the toes up off the ground, pulling toes up towards shins, and then lowering back down with control. Lifting up and lowering down. We want to be careful not to let our feet slap back onto the floor here. We want to lift with control and lower with control. Good. For this one, we're going to do about 20 reps. 3 sets here, building into that more endurance type of dosage. Around for 20 sets, it's harder than it looks, this one. Cool. Moving on, I'm going to come into a calf raise next. So I'm going to spin around, holding onto the wall. I'm going to start with the most simple version. So both feet flat on the floor, coming up into our double leg calf raise. A trusty movement. We want to make sure we've got equal weight through the big toe and the little toe. We're not rolling too far in or letting the ankles flare out. We're really pressing down through the ball of the foot, taking a bit of weight through that big toe joint. Good, if this is feeling nice and easy, our first progression is just to come onto one leg, continuing to work through that calf raise. Good, and again, if that's nice and easy, we want to find a level that's challenging for you so you're getting something out of the exercise. Our progression is to come to an elevated position, calf raising off of a step. So we drop the heels down to the floor, feel that stretch up the back of the leg, and then lift all the way up to our tiptoes. Good. Again, maybe we progress into that single leg movement here. Good. The final add-on that we have for this one is just adding a bit more load in. So maybe you grab yourself a kettlebell, or if you're in the gym, maybe you've got a barbell resting across your shoulders. Whatever you have access to is fine. Good. And then finding the hardest level of that calf raise progression that you can do, working to fatigue, wanting to hit fatigue within 15 to 20 reps for 3 sets, same as before. Cool. And finally, moving into our more functional exercises, really what we're looking at is some single leg stability and balance. So if you're a runner or even just someone who does a bit of walking, we spend a lot of time standing on one leg at a time. So it's really important that as we're running, walking, pushing off, we've got good control and stability up the whole leg so that we're moving effectively. The first one we're going to do is using our block. You don't need a block, but if you've got one, go for it. We're just going to do our little star balance exercise. So finding your balance up on top of that block, standing up tall. We're going to reach as far forward as we can, tap your toe on the ground, standing back up. reaching out as far to the side as possible, and then reaching as far back behind as you can. So we're making a little cross shape, reaching forwards, reaching to the side, and reaching backwards. And what we're wanting to see is that you can maintain your balance up on top of that block really, really well. Good, and find some really good depth. Challenge yourself to really go for it in those lunges. Good, we'll look for 10 repetitions, which would be 1 toe tap in each direction before we swap sides. All right, guys, that's the end of my foot and ankle mobility and strength routine. Hopefully there's a couple of exercises in there that you can pick out that might be valuable for you, whether that's running or just helping your feet feel nice and loose at the end of a work week. If you've got any questions about anything more specific, feel free to ask me down below. And if you like this content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me. I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.